Hi and welcome to Évora in Portugal's interior south. Today's trip is a little different. This is what I booked, an Intercidades train, fast, comfortable and built for long distance travel. And this is what actually showed up instead. CP didn't announce the change, didn't adjust the price and didn't even change the train category. They just quietly downgraded the entire service. No notice, no refund, just same fare, commuter train comfort, and delays. Enjoy the downgrade. Come along! Évora station is in many ways a beautiful gateway to the Alentejo region. This current building was unveiled in 1940 and its stone column style work and traditional roof lines echo the classic Portuguese railway charm. And it deserves to be shown properly while I offer the necessary context for today's trip. You see, this isn't exactly the kind of video I enjoy making. I prefer to show journeys that go smoothly with adequate trains, good service and a sense of occasion. But this trip from Évora to Lisbon is far from that. The reasons for this downgrade will be explained a bit later. For now, let's focus on what's actually running this so-called Intercidades service, or Intercity in English. Yes, this is what CP is currently using to connect Évora with the capital. This is a CP Class 2240 electric multiple unit. These are modernized versions of the older Class 2100 and 2200 units, originally built between 1970 and 1984 for commuter and regional services. Between 2003 and 2005, they were fully refurbished by Alstom with new traction systems, interiors and cosmetic updates, and reclassified as Class 2240. They are used today across the electrified regional network, even though their performance and layout are clearly designed for light suburban use. Comfortable long-distance travel? That was never really part of the plan, especially considering they max out at only 120 km per hour. And yet, somehow, here they are doing intercity work. On board, the layout is functional. There's only second class as you'd expect from a suburban unit. The seats are basic, there are no power outlets and no tables. Perfectly fine for short hops, but for over 90 minutes through the Alentejo? Or anywhere really? Far, very far from ideal. Walking through the train, you'll notice the narrow gangways, a 3+2 layout, and the total lack of long-distance amenities. There are no vending machines, no cafeteria, and definitely no Wi-Fi. Not that the proper Intercidades has a decent Wi-Fi either, but at least it pretends. And just to be clear, here's what I was expecting under the Intercidades brand. This is what CP usually runs on this line. Old cars capable of 200 km per hour with actual first and second class and decent comfort for the distance. The downgrade is obvious? How late will we arrive? Stay tuned to find out. We slowly roll out of Évora and begin our journey toward Lisbon. And I do mean slowly, at a maximum of 120 km per hour, when soon we should be racing at 200. As usual upon departure, here's today's trip map. Looking at the stats, you'll see that we eventually arrive at Lisbon with a delay of 34 minutes. Now granted, this train tops out at 120 km per hour, but that's not the only reason for the delay. I'll explain what really happened later in the video after the stop in Pinhal Novo. In the meantime, one thing CP can't downgrade no matter how hard they try is the scenery. The Alentejo is stunning. Even if they made us travel in mine carts at 10 km per hour, the views would still be worth it. The golden plains, cork oaks, olive trees, the occasional sleepy village, they will all remain no matter what, regardless of trains or timetables. The ride is quiet, very quiet. There's no service, no onboard entertainment, and definitely no urgency. Anyway, even this early in the trip, you can already tell how noisy and rattly these trains are. And believe me, the camera doesn't even capture half of it. The vibrations and the constant squeaks are a whole experience in themselves. Our first stop is Casa Branca. We're already running 5 minutes late, which honestly is kind of impressive this early into the journey. This station is the sole junction left in this part of the country where the lines from Évora and Beja meet before continuing together toward Lisbon. As a whole, service here is somewhat limited and the waiting times between trains can be adventurous. As for us, there's no rush. And no apologies for this slow rattly thing instead of a proper train. We stop, a few passengers from Beja transfer aboard, and we rattly restart into the countryside. This stretch of railway is part of the Alentejo Line, inaugurated in phases between 1857 and 1889, making it the oldest railway line in southern Portugal. It was built to connect the south bank of the Tagus, roughly opposite Lisbon, to the interior regions of Alentejo and the Algarve, serving both passenger and freight. Over time, the network expanded with connections extending toward the East Line and Spain, as well as several points across the region. Casa Branca became a key junction, linking the line to Beja and the south with the one toward Évora, which back then anchored what was known as the Évora Star, thanks to 4 lines radiating from the city. It all formed part of a broader inland corridor. Since the late 1980s and early 1990s, many of those lines and branches have been systematically closed. What remains today is a simplified version of the original network, still active, still scenic, and still important for regional mobility. There are no freight trains on these tracks anymore, which see only Intercidades services, including the ZMU stand-in we're riding today. All this historical talk brings us to Vendas Novas, our next stop, a modest town with a surprisingly strategic past. It's home to a major military base and training camp, which has played a key role in Portugal's armed forces for decades. These days, though, it's better known for something much more peaceful: bifanas, grilled pork sandwiches that people from Lisbon happily drive out here just to eat. The station itself is quiet with no connecting services and no signs of urgency. We're now 12 minutes late and no one seems especially surprised. A few passengers get off, a few get on. Just a brief pause before we rattle back into the plains. This station is also a junction with the main line connecting central and southern Portugal. There are no passenger services there anymore, but it remains quite active for freight. After a few more bizarre stops in an Intercity service and another in the middle of nowhere, we arrive at Pinhal Novo, now running 23 minutes late. From here, we join the busy suburban corridor between Setúbal and Lisbon. And here's where things get complicated. Because we're late, we've missed our time slot, the window where we were supposed to sleep neatly between the commuter trains. And once you miss that, well, you wait. From this point on, we'll be squeezed between suburban services, moving when there's space, not when we're supposed to. So, while the lower speed of this train doesn't help, it's not the only reason for our delay. It's a chain reaction: slower train, missed path, stuck behind others, and a long crawl into Lisbon. Right after leaving Pinhal Novo, we got lucky. A brief window opened and we picked up speed. The speedometer on my phone even hit the glorious 120 km/h mark. But that didn't last. Soon enough, we ran straight into a traffic jam we would have avoided had we been in a proper train at proper speeds and on time. From here on, it's a slow-motion ballet between suburban trains. 40 km/h, then 20, and this is what is possible today. Our luck has officially run out. As a soothing measure for how late we already are, we pass through one of the true highlights of this journey, the crossing of the Tagus River. As frustrating as the delays have been, this view is hard to argue with. The bridge stretches across the water, the sun reflecting on one side, Lisbon rising on the other, and for a moment the whole downgrade thing almost fades into the background. Almost. It's one of the most scenic moments of any rail journey in Portugal, even if you're inching across it in a glorified commuter train. We reach Sete Rios, our first stop within the city of Lisbon, 31 minutes behind schedule. At this point, there's really no catching up. We've lost the path, lost the time, and any hope of Intercidades service, if ever there was one, is long gone. Snaking in between the afternoon rush hour train traffic, we will finally crawl into Lisboa-Oriente 34 minutes late, slow, rattly, and with every last illusion of Intercidades level service thoroughly destroyed. Now, to be fair, and only technically fair, this downgrade likely stems from a shortage of proper Intercidades rolling stock, following a recent accident at a level crossing. And yes, needing to make a substitution may be understandable. But what's not understandable, and definitely not acceptable, is how CP handles it. There is no communication about the downgrade, no warning when you buy your ticket, no pop-up, no fine print, nothing. You pay for an Intercidades and get a suburban EMU instead. No choice, no notice, no apology. And, to add insult to injury, the schedule stays the same, as if this thing could magically match the timing of a 200 km/h train. It can't, it doesn't, it never will. The result? A service that's slow, noisy, and thoroughly inadequate. Delays are not the exception, they are a guarantee. Yes, the ticket is cheap, but that's beside the point. If CP wants to run regional trains, they need to sell regional tickets, not slap the Intercidades label on whatever happens to be available that day. Will I use this service again? Maybe, but that's only because I like trains a little too much. Any rational person with a working memory, they'll probably think twice before stepping into one of these again. Thanks for riding with me on today's journey all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the trip, don't forget to like, subscribe, share and drop a comment below. It really helps the channel grow and keeps these rail adventures rolling, always with a bit of history and technology. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next week.